A fascinating look into the life of a 200 IQ, highly intelligent killer. Have you ever wondered what a 200 IQ, highly intelligent person looks like? Well, get ready for a mind-boggling story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. The supposed killer brags to the police that he has an IQ higher than 150, oblivious to the fact that his horrific mistreatment by the police would soon become public knowledge. At precisely 3:40 in the morning on the unfortunate day of February 17, 2019, David Wright and his buddy Christopher engage in what first looked to be a routine transaction involving the purchase of drugs at the shadowy corner of the street. This specific transaction, on the other hand, strayed from the norm and turned out to be an intricate ruse that was arranged in order to accomplish a double heist. David ran into opposition as he attempted to forcibly seize the property of his intended customers. As a consequence, Chris was rendered helpless by a surprise attack with pepper spray, and the buyers ran away as quickly as they could. David instantly removed a handgun concealed within his waistband and rapidly delivered a deadly round into the chest of Raul Cuadro, promptly extinguishing his life in an instant. David's reaction came within moments, and he acted within moments. David and Chris hurriedly left the place, carefully concealing the pistol amid a huge expanse of land, and proceeded with their own pursuits in the firm certainty that their acts would avoid notice. Unfortunately for them, their expectations were dashed very immediately when it was discovered that each and every one of them could be recognized thanks to the coordinated efforts of a large number of security cameras dispersed in the surrounding area. David was arrested within 48 hours later as a result of the turn of events that took place. He had an unjustified faith in his excellent intelligence and believed, incorrectly, that it would protect him during the legal procedures. He had no idea that the world would show him how wrong he was in a very serious way. In addition to the fact that multiple witnesses were able to identify David based on the recorded CCTV footage, David was also found to be indisputably present at the scene of the crime due to the lack of a corroborating alibi, as well as incriminating Facebook messages discussing intricate details of the alleged narcotics transaction. These messages were found on David's Facebook account. He steadfastly refuses to participate in any conversation as he is intent on concocting a plan to outwit the dogged pursuers, while the detective's mission is still focused on determining the exact sequence of events that occurred and the reasons that led to them. David's only possible defense and alibi include the possibility that someone else was using his phone and taking part in the drug transaction in his place. This is his only line of defense and alibi. In addition, he provides support for his claim by adding that he is unable to recollect the exact day that the events took place. As a result, it's hard to fully verify or contradict his allegation. However, in order for his story to be accurate, the person with his phone would need to imitate David's look, acquire access to David's Facebook account, and, as recounted by David himself, change the hue of their own skin. The probability of such a circumstance happening is most definitely not extremely high. During an interrogation, maintaining one's silence has a significant amount of value and is frequently regarded to be the most effective technique. This is especially true when coupled with making a quick request for legal assistance. Having said that, in this specific instance, David is deliberately working to fully disown any connection to the case, despite the fact that he has been directly linked by a large number of credible sources. Despite the way that he is exacerbating the situation for himself and everybody around him by sticking to this procedure, he is most certain, hopefully not by mistake, that the circumstance is improving as a direct result of the importance he puts on himself. This seemingly plain assertion really has a deeper significance that may be missed by casual inspection, despite the fact that it appears to be rather simple on the surface. The investigator gave David some physical evidence to look at, and he expressed full confidence in the ability of this evidence to conclusively implicate David in the crime. In response to this, David confirms that he did in fact meet Cody, but he categorically rejects the notion that he had any more participation. At first look, this interaction appears to be of no consequence. Nevertheless, the astute detectives recognize the potential of this psychological technique, and they make use of the plethora of supplemental material at their disposal in order to methodically tease a thorough admission out of David. This interview has already gone on for longer than 40 minutes, yet there has been very little forward movement thus far. It does not appear that the tactic of cornering him with proof or rehashing the events of the previous night or elaborating on the negative outcomes of his conduct would be successful in changing his behavior. Instead, the detectives decide to take a significantly different strategy by deploying threats and putting particular emphasis on the effect that the suspect's actions will have on his own companions. David, who has been caught in the act of telling an obvious falsehood, begins to develop a sensation of discomfort, even if this is not immediately evident. Obviously, his essential objective during the length of the film is to safeguard his own inner self, since this is the main thing he appears to think about often. As a result, now that his ego's been damaged, David finds himself in a defensive position, which compels the investigator to relentlessly press on, striving to make him give just a little bit more information. Oh, and who exactly is this other lady? After being in the questioning room for an hour, David, who is obviously uncomfortable, begins to adjust his cap and fidget with his hands. It seems as though he's having trouble communicating, which may be the result of a wounded ego. When provoked, narcissistic individuals like David may respond in an impulsive manner in an effort to display their superior intelligence and power over the situation. In a twist of fate, this frequently leads them to unwittingly disclosing vital information to authorities, presenting the prosecution with strong evidence against them. Therefore, the investigator will not deviate from the direct and forceful line of inquiry that he has been using with the intention of driving David to the breaking point. It would appear that the conversation had reached its natural conclusion. David made the decision after that to be quiet and refrain from using his flawless grasp of the language. He chose to keep his mouth shut. It shouldn't come as a shock that the adjudicator didn't give him much time in court. Since he put forth no attempt to build protection or help out examiners, he was dependent upon the most extreme discipline that was accessible. Moreover, David had proactively been sentenced for some crimes before, including robbery, burglary of a vehicle, and 35 other wrongdoing accusations dating all the way back to 1999. These convictions included arson. As a direct consequence of this, David Wright, who was 33 at the time, was given a jail term of 40 years with no prospect of release in the month of October 2020. The riveting story of David Wright, a man whose confidence in his own superior intelligence led to his undoing, comes to a dramatic and satisfying conclusion here. It is a jarring reminder that knowledge on its own does not ensure success or shield us from the repercussions of our own actions. We have high hopes that this tale has made our viewers more aware of the perils of arrogance and the significance of accountability. It should serve as a lesson learned the hard way for anyone who thinks they are smarter than the system. Regardless of how high your IQ may be, the truth always finds a way of finding you in the end. We were witnesses as David's meticulously crafted plan began to fall apart, as evidence piled up against him, and as his attempts to evade the inevitability of the situation became fruitless. It is a glaring illustration of the fact that justice always finds a way to win out in the end. Does this story surprise you? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Thank you so much for joining us on this thrilling adventure. And if you want to stay up to date with more captivating stories and intriguing investigations, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.